been misunderstanding God's message your whole life. You thought the car was the message. You thought the promotion was the message. You thought because somebody called your name, because you got a little shine, that was the message. No, that was a side effect. The real message was never about the house, the vacation, the title, or the applause. The message has always been about the call on your life. You confuse the blessing with the purpose, the reward with the responsibility. And when life got hard, when doors closed, when you cried yourself to sleep, you told yourself God forgot about you. That's the misunderstanding. The pain wasn't proof of his absence, it was proof of his preparation. You thought the storm meant you were being punished, but the storm was training you to stand, to endure, to grow. The fire wasn't sent to burn you, it was sent to refine you. You've been looking for God in the loud, but he's been whispering in the small. While you've been chasing miracles, he's been speaking through discipline, through character, through that quiet voice saying, keep going. You missed the message because you were chasing blessings. But his message has never been about what you collect. It's about what you become. God's message was never designed to make you comfortable. It was designed to call you higher. Too many of us have been taught to measure God's presence in our lives by how easy things feel, by how smooth the road is, by whether we get the things we've been praying for. We confuse blessings with ease, as if the only sign that God is working is when life feels good. But if you study every great man or woman in Scripture, if you look at the lives of those who truly answered the call, you will see the opposite. Their lives were anything but easy. Their lives were filled with trials, setbacks, responsibilities that weighed on their shoulders. God's message to them wasn't, I'll give you a mansion and a comfortable life. His message was, I'm calling you to lead, to endure, to carry a purpose bigger than yourself. The misunderstanding happens because we want comfort when God wants calling. Comfort says, sit still, don't change, don't stretch. Calling says, move, rise up, fight, trust. Comfort makes you believe you're safe, but calling makes you believe you're chosen. And if you've been chosen, it means you're going to be stretched in ways that don't always feel good. You'll have to walk into rooms where you don't feel qualified. You'll have to step into responsibilities that scare you. You'll have to make sacrifices that make no sense to the people around you. That's not God abandoning you. That's God confirming you. The problem is, we keep asking God to give us the blessing without the burden, the reward without the responsibility, the crown without the cross. But that was never the message. The message has always been, I'm with you, even when it's heavy. God's call on your life isn't about making things easy. It's about making you strong enough to handle the weight. It's about shaping you into someone who can influence, someone who can inspire, someone who can carry light into the darkest corners. When you misunderstand this, you waste your energy asking, why me? When the real question is, why not me? Because the truth is, if God gave you the calling, He already put in you everything you need to carry it. Hardship has a way of making people question everything. The moment life gets heavy, the moment doors slam shut, the moment relationships collapse or the bank account dries up, the first thought many have is that God has abandoned them. They interpret the struggle as punishment, as if the difficulty is proof that they've done something wrong. But the truth is the exact opposite. Hardship is not punishment, it is preparation. The weight you carry, the battles you face, the tears you've cried, they are all shaping you into the person you need to become. in order to fulfill your calling. If life were always easy, if every prayer were answered instantly, you would never grow the strength, the character, the resilience needed to handle what's ahead. Think about how muscles are built. They are not built by comfort. They are built by resistance, by tension, by being pushed beyond what feels easy. Every tear in the muscle fiber creates space for growth. In the same way, every struggle you endure creates room for your spirit, your discipline, your faith to expand. What feels like breaking is actually building. The fire you are walking through isn't there to destroy you, it's there to refine you, and refinement only happens under heat. You can't get pure gold without putting it through the fire, and you can't get the best version of yourself without seasons of pressure. The problem is we mistake God's training for God's absence. We think if He loved us, He would remove the challenge. But His love is shown in allowing the challenge to develop us. Just like a coach doesn't let the athlete quit when practice gets hard, God doesn't pull you out of the workout of life just because you're sweating and sore. He knows what you're capable of, and He knows what's waiting for you on the other side. The trial you're in today is equipping you for the triumph you'll need tomorrow. The storm you're facing isn't to drown you, it's to teach you how to stand when the waves hit. When you shift your perspective, the pain stops feeling like punishment and starts looking like preparation. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start realizing, "Of course me, because I've been chosen for more." Every tear, every setback, every hardship becomes evidence that you're in training. You're being built for something bigger. And the weight you carry now is proof that there's greatness waiting on the other side of the struggle. For too long, people have tied the idea of God's favor to outward success. They assume that money in the bank, a promotion at work, or recognition from others is the ultimate sign that God is pleased with them. They point to material gain as evidence that they are blessed, as if the size of their house or the brand of their clothes is equal to the size of their calling. But that is the misunderstanding. Success is not the sign, obedience is. The truth is that some of the wealthiest people in the world are far from obedient to God's voice, and some of the most obedient people in history lived lives of simplicity and struggle. What mattered was not what they had, but how they responded to the call. Obedience means doing what God asks, even when it doesn't come with applause, even when it doesn't make sense to those around you, even when it costs you something. It's easy to give when you have abundance, but it takes true faith to give when you're down to your last. It's easy to trust when doors are flying open, but it's obedience when you keep showing up after rejection. Success in the eyes of the world is measured by results, but success in the eyes of God is measured by response. Did you do what He asked you to do? Did you stay faithful to the assignment, even when it felt small or unseen? That's where the real blessing is. The problem with chasing worldly success as proof of God's love is that it creates shallow faith. The moment the money slows down, the moment the recognition fades, people assume God has turned His back on them. But if you anchor your faith in obedience, then no matter what the circumstances look like, you know you are in alignment. You can lose the job but still have peace because you obeyed. You can be overlooked by people but still be elevated in spirit because you stayed faithful. Obedience is powerful because it keeps the focus on God's will instead of your own comfort. It's a daily choice to trust His plan even when it doesn't look like progress. And over time, obedience builds the kind of foundation that no storm can take away. Worldly success rises and falls, but the fruit of obedience lasts forever. When you understand this, you stop chasing proof of favor and start living out proof of faith. The true measure of your walk with God is not what you've achieved, but whether you answered when He called. So many people go through life thinking that God's voice will always come with thunder, fire, and undeniable signs that shake the earth. They keep waiting for the sky to open, for miracles so big that they can't be ignored, believing that unless it's loud and dramatic, it can't possibly be God. And in chasing that kind of proof, they miss the real power of His message, because it so often comes in the stillness. God is not always found in the earthquake or the storm, but in the whisper. He shows up in the small nudges, the quiet convictions, the inner peace that comes when you choose the right path, even though no one is watching. The problem is not that God isn't speaking, it's that people are too distracted by noise to hear Him. Life today is filled with distractions, with constant updates, notifications, and noise pulling your attention in 1,000 directions. People live chasing big breakthroughs and dramatic answers, believing their lives only change when something huge happens. But if you study the way God has always worked, you realize that the most powerful transformations often happen in silence. Seeds break through soil without sound, and yet they carry the potential to grow into trees that last for centuries. A sunrise appears without announcement, yet it has the power to light the entire world. In the same way, God's message does not need to be loud to be life-changing. The whisper of His voice in your spirit can be more powerful than the shout of the world around you. The mistake so many make is equating silence with absence. They think if they don't see miracles every day, if they don't feel goosebumps during prayer, if they don't get a dramatic sign, then God isn't speaking. But silence doesn't mean absence. Sometimes the quiet is the space where you learn to grow. It's where God strengthens your patience, builds your faith, and teaches you to rely not on emotions, but on trust. The whisper calls you to go deeper, to lean in, to focus not on what dazzles your eyes, but on what steadies your soul. Think about the moments in your life when you've had to make hard choices. Maybe you didn't hear a booming voice telling you what to do, but you felt that deep knowing inside that wouldn't go away. That sense of peace about the harder road, that push to step away from what looked easy but wasn't right. That was God speaking. Think about the times you were tired, ready to quit, but somehow found the strength to take one more step. That was Him. Or the time you were hurt and wanted revenge but felt the pull to forgive. That wasn't just your conscience, that was His whisper guiding you. The loud moments might inspire you, but they can fade. It's the whispers that sustain you, that shape your character, that build you into someone unshakable. The reason so many miss God's message is because they're waiting for the extraordinary while ignoring the ordinary. They think God's presence is reserved for the mountaintop moments, when in reality He's been walking with them in the valley, speaking softly, patiently waiting for them to slow down and listen. When you finally learn to tune your ear to the quiet, everything changes. You stop chasing signs and start recognizing His fingerprints in your everyday life. You notice that every step forward you've made, every lesson you've learned, every strength you've built in the silence was Him guiding you. You realize He was never absent. He was always there, whispering, shaping, teaching. And when you accept that, the fear of silence disappears. The quiet no longer feels empty. It feels sacred. You understand that you were never waiting on God to speak. He was waiting on you to listen. And in that realization, you step into a deeper kind of faith, one that doesn't need fireworks to believe, because you know the whisper is enough. When people carry the weight of misunderstanding God's message, They often picture it as a set of impossible rules meant to control them, a heavy burden that strips joy from life. They imagine God as a stern figure watching every move, waiting for mistakes, ready to punish. That distorted image pushes many away from faith and leaves them afraid of approaching Him. But the true essence of God's message is not about chains, it's about freedom. It's not about condemnation, it's about transformation. His voice is not the hammer that crushes, but the hand that lifts. His instructions are not walls to confine you, but a roadmap that guides you out of the mess into meaning, out of the chaos into clarity, out of the pain into peace. The misunderstanding comes because correction and condemnation are often confused. When people are corrected, they feel attacked, as if someone is pointing out their flaws just to shame them. But God's correction is never about shaming, it's about shaping. Think about a sculptor chiseling a rough stone. Every strike may look like breaking, but in truth it's revealing what's hidden inside. That's how God works. His voice may challenge you, it may confront your habits, your weaknesses, or your choices, but it's never to destroy. It's to draw out the strength, the beauty, and the potential you've been carrying all along. He knows the masterpiece inside you, and every word He speaks is shaping you closer to it. That's why His commands, though they may feel hard, are actually life-giving. When He says to forgive, it's not to let someone else off the hook. It's to free you from bitterness that eats away at your soul. When He calls you to honesty, it's not to limit you. It's to remove the weight of lies that eventually collapse under their own weight. When He calls you to discipline, it's not to steal your freedom. It's to give you the strength to rise above the things that weaken you. Every word has purpose. Every instruction has love behind it. Every boundary He sets is to protect you from a trap you can't see. If you only focus on the rules, you'll resist Him. But when you realize His message is rooted in love, you'll embrace it. You'll see that every word is less about restriction and more about redirection. It's God saying, I see where you're headed, but I want better for you. He doesn't strip you of life. He breathes life into you. He doesn't shrink you, He expands you. He doesn't silence your voice. He refines it so that it carries weight and power. Too many people spend years running from God's voice because they think it's about punishment, when in truth it's about purpose. They silence that inner tug, that quiet conviction, because they think it means they're not good enough, when really it means God refuses to let them settle for less than what they were made for. That conviction is love disguised as correction. That boundary is grace disguised as discipline. That challenge is freedom disguised as responsibility. Once you start to understand this truth, everything shifts. You no longer run from His message, you run with it. You recognize that He isn't holding you back. He's launching you forward. His message was never meant to weigh you down, but to lift you higher. It was never meant to scare you, but to secure you. It was never meant to rob you of joy, but to give you joy that can't be shaken. His message is not chains, but keys, not walls, but doors, not condemnation, but redemption, not death, but life more abundant. And when that realization sinks deep into your spirit, you stop resisting His voice and start leaning into it, because you finally understand He's not trying to control you. He's trying to free you.